everybody, in this video I want to talk about one of the most basic fundamental movements that we as humans have the ability to do, and that's hinge from the hips. You probably know already if you can touch your toes or not. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't touch their toes, and that would be one of the first things is before we do any kind of, say, deadlift or a hip hinge exercise where we're using an external load, meaning a weight or resistance, I want to make sure that you can touch your toes so that you can do this safely. If you cannot touch your toes, let's just say you can only come down to your knees, well, in that case, you can still perform something like a deadlift so long as the weight is raised off the ground onto something like a weight block so that you're not forced to go any lower than your knees. The whole idea with the hip hinge is we want a good neutral posture with our spine, and we want to be able to maintain that posture as we hinge. A lot of times, because of restricted either hip mobility or our posterior chain, our backside is really tight, what happens is we go to hinge and the upper back takes over because the hips aren't actually doing anything. Okay, so it's really important that we initiate a hip hinge by pushing our hips back, by bending at the waist and then maintaining a flat back. So if the first thing that happens is your back rounds, this is a big no-no, and we want to have some good awareness. Well, how we can build awareness is simple enough with a golf club. What you can do is take a golf club and put it along your backside, trying to get it to touch your tailbone, the middle of your back by your shoulder blades, and your head at the same time. So you might find that you're here and you're like, oh, wait a second, there's a large space between my back. That's extra extension in your back that we don't want. Conversely, if you're here and you can rock this around, your body's stuck in flexion, and we don't want that either. We want the ability to maintain a neutral posture and then hinge from the hips while maintaining that posture. So that, in a nutshell, is our hip hinge. So when we're touching our toes, we're trying to hip hinge, keep our back nice and flat, and see how low we can go down without losing that posture. Now, assuming that you can get down to your toes with a flat back, or if you can't, you can still maintain a flat back, at least through some kind of range of motion, then we can actually work to load that position. So here we have a 30-pound kettlebell, and we're going to do some two-leg kettlebell deadlifts. And I know that the word deadlift sounds a little scary, it has the word dead in it, but this is, I promise, a really great exercise. It works every muscle in your body, especially on your posterior chain, which a lot of times, if we're in the gym, we only work the muscles we can see in the mirror. So we can do some bicep curls, we can check ourselves out, we're looking really good, but we neglect this stuff on our backside, and we have to stay in balance. So with a deadlift with this kettlebell, I'm going to start, again, nice and tall, still screwing our feet in like we do in our midline bracing sequence, like we're getting into golf posture. So stand tall, butt squeeze, core squeeze, feet screwed in, shoulders back. Now, maintaining this, I'm going to hinge from the waist until my arms are extended. They're not slouched and reaching, but they are extended down to the kettlebell. Now I'm going to push my feet through the floor and simply stand up. And that's our deadlift. We go back down and we stand back up. Very simple movement, but a lot can go wrong if we're not careful. I'll show you from the side. Again, we want to maintain a flat back while doing this exercise. It's way too common, and it makes me cringe when I see people with a rounded back and then trying to lift, or they hyperextend their back and then they try to lift. One thing to be very careful of when we are doing a deadlift is this, or any hip hinge for that matter. We need to start tall and then come down to the weight. So we start tall, neutral spine, load our body, then we can get under the weight to pick it up. What I don't want to see, but what I see all too often, is people first come down to the weight, then they try to get tight and organized. And I can promise you this, on the outside, this position and this position may look the same, but on the inside, they're completely different. We need to make sure that we're prioritizing spinal mechanics first so that you can do this safely. When we do it safely, we can do it efficiently. When we do it efficiently, we become stronger. When we can maintain core stability while moving, whether it's a hip hinge, a squat, a lunge, or a golf swing, more energy is going to go into that golf ball. The analogy is, if you're playing tug of war with somebody and there's slack in the rope, it's loose in the middle, I don't care how strong you are or how hard you pull, the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to take the slack out of that rope, and that's usually going to give you a nice snapping sensation. Now, think of that rope. Sure, it can handle it. Your spine? No, it can't. That's not safe. So we first pre-tense the rope so it's nice and taut. Then, as you pull, motion can be transferred through that. That's your core. I don't want you to come down here and then try to get the slack out and then rip it up. Slack out first, then come down, then we can pick it back up.
If you want to learn more and stay up to date with the latest and greatest in the world of golf mobility, find me on social media at Mobilitas Golf or use hashtag #MoveBetterPlayBetter. I also encourage you to go to mobilitasgolf.com, sign up for my free weekly newsletter. It goes out every Monday, and I'll send straight to your inbox the latest and greatest techniques in the world of golf mobility. Move better, play better.